Hi there. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your intervention tracker. This does run off of Google Scripts, and there are a couple of things that you should do. You should read the directions that are right here. If the page doesn't load up on the first time after you've made a copy of it, you can click on one of these buttons and it should run. It'll ask you for the permissions. Um, Alternatively, there should be a menu that pops up called the intervention log. So you can click on that and you can go to setup and then click setup. Now it is going to ask you for authorization. You'll click continue. Of course, you click on your account and then it says, hey, wait a minute, this app isn't verified. Well, that's okay. It doesn't have anything malicious in it. So go to Intervention Tracker version 2. It does say unsafe over here because it hasn't been verified by Google itself. So you click on that, pops up with all these permissions. It says, hey, do you really trust this thing? Sure, why not? Allow. Okay, so once you allow it, now the apps are going to start running. It's running in the background. It's setting up the pages and it's making sure that everything is in order. The script is finished. You're done. All right. So right now we don't have any students logged in to our form. So we're going to have to do that. Um, the data is going to be stored in this particular page. It says student data. Okay. So you can see that you can have up to 4 different goals in this particular program, and it records your objectives and that you set out for the particular student. When you start to enter in the session data, this is where everything is stored. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to go back to the directions page. Now that you know where the data is being stored, let's talk about how you enter in this information. Now you can click on any of these buttons over here and they will work, they will fire. However, you can also go up here to the menu bar and you can go to input student. Okay, this is where you'd want to add your students. Or you could log a service by period or by the student's name. So I'm going to show you both and how to do that here in a second. So first of all, input students. So I click on input students. You're going to notice on the right hand side that there is this toolbar that appears. And I'm going to zoom in a little. On my web page here, make things a little bit bigger. Okay, so you can see now that I can fill in this information. So let's say the student 1 is I'm a him, and let's say that the grade is, I don't know, let's say 7. If there's a team, you can enter the team here. If you don't want to, leave it blank. The period, um, you can leave it blank here if you're going to be seeing the student whenever or you're not really certain. But it will throw things off. So if you see the student consistently or you're more likely to see them in a certain period, you may want to enter that information in. So let's say that I see this particular student period 4. Okay. The start date, I can set a start date. Let's say that it's going to be the 27th of August. Why not? Goal 1. So this has to be in a decimal. So point, let's say 8. So that's an 80%. And let's say student will um, write complete sentences with 80% accuracy. Now, of course, you can be much more specific, but for me right now, I'm just typing that information in as a demo. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom. Now, if you don't have these other goals, just skip them and you click submit. Now, it's going to do a little bit of magic, okay? And it's going to say, hey, wow, you did this, sweet success. Okay, so you have a choice here. You can add another student and it'll take you back to that same page, or you can close it. So for right now, I'm just going to close it. Now, let me show you where this information was stored. It was stored over here in student data. So right here it is. I'm a Kim. It has the team is blank here, but it has the goal written in and it has the percentage. Now we need to start to enter in some session data. So I can click on right here, add service, okay? And this is going to pull up all the students I have. So if you don't have many students, this might be the quick and easy way to do it. If you don't like that way, then click on add service by period. Now I know that Ima was in period 4, so I click on period 4, submit. It's going to pull that student data. And basically it's saying, hey, what student do you want from period 4? Well, here are the available choices. So if I had more students from period 4, they would appear here. Now, if I'm not happy with this particular selection, I can say, hey, go back to the classes, and pick a different class and a different student. But I'm going to say, yep, you know what, that's my student. So it's going to pull the data. Ima Kim is going to be up here. It's organized by last name and then first name. And then it has the period or the session or where you're performing this particular work. Now, if you're not performing the work in period 4, then you may want to go, I'll show you a different way to do that in a minute. Okay, so right here, service date, right here are your goals. Let's say that she did it, she wrote in complete sentences with 80% accuracy. Now I did populate the goal right here in front of you so that you can actually see that and make sure that you're looking at the correct goal when you're entering this information in. So 5 out of 6. Notes, really prepared. Sentences were good. Well written, how about that? And period, goal number 2, if I had a goal number 2, I could click on that, I could see that, I could fill that information in. So again, this one's set up for 4 goals. If yours is set up for 3 goals, then you can do that. But she's only using goal 1, that's fine. Okay, submit. So again, it's going to do some magic. Okay, so I can add an entry for the same class right here. So again, I'm a Kim, if I want to go to that, or if I want to choose a different class, I could select a different class and it'll find a student. Now, right here, there are no students. It says NA. So you know what? I have to go back to my classes now. And if you don't like that particular way of entering in the data, let's say that you're meeting with a student that's off period, you could select the student by name, and then it'll pull this information up and it'll say, hey, what period do you want to enter? And by default, it goes to when you typically meet them. So again, we meet Ima Kim period 4, but let's say that today we provided services period 8. Okay, so we're recording that. We want that information for our records, and possibly just to even filter down for Ima Kim to see how she's performing differently in these different periods. Let's say it's 1 out of 6, and let's say really exhausted. Maybe there's a trend that starts to set up with Ima Kim where at the end of the day, it's just too much for her, and maybe she needs a break during the day, or some type of sensory break, or whatever the case may be. And that's something for the professionals to kind of toy around with and figure out, and of course ask her about. So now again, I have these options. I can add an entry for the same student. So in this case, I can go here, or I can add other students. Okay, so I'm going to close out of that. And now in my session data, you'll notice that I have 2 pieces of data that are written in. All right, so that accomplishes this part of the video and learning. The next part, I'm going to show you how to use the reports. All right.